Every morning, you open your refrigerator and pour a glass of orange juice. You check the label. 100% juice, not from concentrate, no added sugar. Just pure oranges. It feels like the closest thing to fresh squeezed you can buy without owning a juicer. But here's something that might surprise you. That juice was probably squeezed over a year ago. It sat in a tank the size of a small building, with every molecule of oxygen stripped out. And the flavor you taste right now was designed by the same scientists who create perfumes for Dior and Calvin Klein. None of that appears on the label. Orange juice at breakfast is not an ancient tradition. It was invented by an ad man. In the early 1900s, California orange growers had a problem. Too many oranges, not enough buyers. Most people ate half an orange as a snack and moved on. Then, in 1916, an advertising executive named Albert Lasker came up with 2 words that would reshape American mornings. Drink an orange. Lasker distributed cheap glass juicers with every bag of sun-kissed oranges. A glass of juice needs 2 to 3 oranges instead of half of one. Consumption jumped 400%. Orange juice became breakfast. But juice spoils within hours. The industry needed a way to make it last. During World War II, government scientists developed frozen concentrate. By the late 1940s, over 40% of Florida's oranges were going to processing plants. By the 1970s, 90%. Then in 1954, Tropicana pioneered flash pasteurization. Juice could be shipped chilled without freezing. Not from concentrate was born. It cost more, and by 1985, it outsold frozen concentrate for the first time. Americans believed they were getting something closer to fresh. They were not.
I wish that people knew, and I hope that people know where their food comes from. It's not just that you go to a grocery store and that's where your food is. It comes from farms and it comes from producers like me that are working outside to provide that food to the grocery store so that we can get it to the consumer.
Here's what actually happens inside a not-from-concentrate plant. Trucks arrive carrying 35,000 to 40,000 pounds of oranges. The fruit gets washed, then fed into extractors that squeeze each orange in a single motion while removing the peel. Raw juice flows into blending tanks where technicians test acidity and sugar content, measured in degrees Brix. Florida grade A juice must hit a minimum of 10.5 Brix and no more than 0.035% peel oil. Then the juice enters a deaerator. This is where things change. The deaerator uses vacuum and heat to strip every trace of dissolved oxygen from the liquid. Oxygen degrades color, destroys vitamin C, and allows enzymes to break down the pulp. Removing it is essential for long-term storage. But when you pull out the oxygen, you also pull out the volatile compounds that give orange juice its taste and aroma. What exits the deaerator is stable, sterile, and flavorless. This dead juice gets pumped into aseptic storage tanks. Each one holds up to 1 million gallons. The tanks are sterilized with steam at 110 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, then blanketed with pressurized nitrogen so no air can re-enter. The juice sits there for months, sometimes a full year. When it is time to fill your carton, blend technicians add what the industry calls flavor packs. These are proprietary mixtures of volatile compounds that have been extracted from oranges, broken apart, and chemically reassembled by scientists at major fragrance companies. Givaudan, Firmenich, International Flavors and Fragrances, the same labs that design perfumes for luxury fashion houses. Each market gets a different formula. Americans prefer high levels of ethyl butyrate, a compound your brain associates with freshness. Lab tests found fresh squeezed juice contains about 1.2 milligrams of ethyl butyrate per liter. Commercially processed juice had up to 8.5 milligrams, 7 times higher than nature. Brazilians prefer decanol. Mexicans prefer Valenzuela. Same brand, different country, different flavor. The taste of freshness is not discovered. It is a sign. Even the pulp is manufactured. During extraction, all pulp is removed. What floats in your glass was added back later, measured to a target percentage. Low pulp gets 2%. Extra pulp gets 12%. Each strand is cut to a uniform length so it suspends evenly and does not settle at the bottom of the carton.
Good morning, little glass.
Morning.
Is it true just 150 millilitres of Tropicana is high in vitamin C,
Yep.
contains vitamin B9, the juice of 1.5 oranges, and is one of my 5 a day?
Yeah.
You are good, aren't you?
You know.
Oh, now you're just showing off. Tropicana. A little glass has a lot of what you need.
The scale of this operation is staggering. Tropicana alone controls nearly 65% of the American orange juice market. In 1970, the company launched a refrigerated freight train to carry 1.5 million gallons per week from Florida to New York. 1,250 miles. It ran for 34 years. Today, million-gallon tanker ships move juice from Brazil to Europe under aseptic conditions. Over 125 million gallons of storage capacity was built in Florida in just 5 years during the 90s. What began as a man squeezing fruit became one of the most engineered supply chains in the food industry. Here's where the story flips. You would assume not from concentrate is the less processed option. That is what the label implies. That is why it costs more. But the opposite is true. Not from concentrate requires more elaborate storage, longer holding times, and more aggressive flavor engineering than concentrate. Concentrate gets reconstituted with water and some compounds added back. Not from concentrate sits dead in a tank for up to 12 months, then gets a new flavor identity built from scratch by perfume scientists. The premium product is the more artificial one. We spend enormous effort trying to make things taste like they were never touched. That is the strange genius of orange juice. An entire industry exists to reverse engineer a sensation that a tree produces for free. 100 years ago, an ad man looked at a pile of unsold oranges and asked a question that changed breakfast forever. Not how do we sell more fruit? How do we make people need something they never asked for? And we did. We built tank farms and nitrogen blankets, and hired perfumers to reconstruct the ghost of a flavor that vanished the moment we tried to preserve it. Tomorrow morning, you will pour a glass. Cold, bright, familiar. And now you will know that what you are tasting is not an orange. It is a memory of one rebuilt molecule by molecule in a laboratory, designed to remind you of something you may have never actually experienced. Freshness is a recipe.
In 1954, Tropicana found a way to bring the fresh squeezed taste of OJ to everyone. And today, that same delicious OJ has a new look, still with no added sugar. Tropicana Pure Premium, the juice that starts it all.
The next time you read that label, 100% juice, not from concentrate, you will know exactly what those words leave out. That's the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there's something you'd like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.